The next thing we're going to talk about is doing a blind hem on a Bernina. This is going to involve several feet to get a nice clean finish all the way across and make it look very professional. There won't be any need for you to take your pants to a tailor to have them hemmed up ever again. To do a blind hem, the first thing we want to do is to protect the raw edge where you trim off your fabric on your hem. I'm going to use this little scrap of denim as my sample fabric for this exercise. The first thing I want to do is protect this raw edge. You could do this if you had a serger, but if you don't have a serger and you just have your lovely Bernina, you'll be able to use your Bernina 2A foot that comes with the 590 and is available for purchase if it does not come with your machine to finish your edge of your fabric. This is an overcasting foot. We have another extensive video on how this foot works. There's a tiny little pin underneath the foot that the stitch is going to form over as you're sewing. We're going to just do a simple zigzag over the edge of the fabric to secure the edge and to keep it from unraveling while you wear your freshly hemmed pants. Switch out back to this foot. And on screen, I'm going to tell the machine that I'm using a 2A foot. This will help keep me out of trouble and make sure the stitch is landing where it needs to. For a 2A stitch for the overcasting, you can move the needle over. And we just want to make sure that the needle's not going to hit the pin coming through the edge of the foot. As for guiding, the edge of your fabric should be at the edge of the pin in the foot as you're sewing. So your stitch is going to form over onto the outside of the fabric. This will help keep it from unraveling. And the pin in the foot keeps the fabric from collapsing under the width of the stitch. The edge of our fabric, nice and tidy with that zigzag over the edge. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to baste the hem upwards in place. So the outside of my pants, or the outside of my fabric, is the dark blue. I'm going to press this upwards about 1.5 inches or 1 inch. And we're going to baste this in place so that the hem stays in place as we do the next 2 steps. I'm going to go back to a number 1 foot for this, using the 1D today. I'm going to go back into, you could just pick a straight stitch. There's 2 ways of choosing to baste on this machine. You can either choose a straight stitch and go to the long stitch option in the Eye for Information menu. And this will double the stitch length that your machine is running at. This will take your stitch length up to about 6 millimeters and then double it up to 12. This is your first option for a baste. I'll show you both. Oh, gotta tell the machine what foot it has on so it's not confused. This is a nice long baste. It'll be easy to take out later on. Your other option for basting on this machine is a basting specific stitch. On this machine, it's stitch 21. I'll show you that one as well. This one is affectionately known as the Bernina baste. Stitch 21, the stitch is roughly 20 millimeters long, so even easier to take out. when you're ready to remove it. Lastly, to actually do our blind hem, we're going to switch to our blind hem foot, which is number 5. So the blind hem foot has a spring guide similar to the number 10. Comes down in front. However, underneath the foot, that spring guide goes through the stitching area. So the spring guide here has a little curve to it. This is going to help the blind hem stitch form over this bar as you sew. We're going to switch and tell the machine that we're running stitch 5, or foot number 5. And then we're going to find our blind hem stitch. So the way I think about a blind hem stitch is the bulk of our sewing will be the straight stitch happening in our seam allowance. The little nibble, the little alligator bite over, is going to happen over the bar in the foot. And the bar in the foot is going to give the thread extra tension so that we'll be able to fold this flat and have it be mostly blind when we're all done. So when you're setting up to fold this, what it's going to look like, we're going to have the outside of your fabric facing down. We're going to flip the hem back upon itself. So if this was a pair of pants, the bulk of your pant leg would be off to the left, and your raw edge that you trimmed up to make it the right length for you is going to be sticking to the right. Right now, right sides are together. And our blind hem stitch, most of the straight stitch is going to land in the side here, with a little nibble landing in the fold next to the foot. Usually on the blind hem stitch, you don't need to make any adjustments to the placement of this stitch or the width. The denim is quite thick, so I'm going to go just a little bit wider on it. Most commonly, blind hem stitches are used in things like dress pants. Haha, that worked. So we have tiny little nibbles into the fold, holding that hem in place. And from the front, you might get the odd dot of thread, but mostly you can't see that stitch at all. And if it had been done in blue thread instead of white, it would be a blind hem.